Hi, our next presenter is Anthony Hudson. Anthony is a local architect, a local award-winning architect, whose work spreads across UK, Europe and India. Passing over to Anthony.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're just around the corner here. There's a great Hindu saying, give me a garland maker, O king, rather than a charcoal burner. And this is very much our philosophy about enjoying richness of architecture, colour, fabric, materials. And this is a view of the house in North Devon at Baggy House, looking out across the Croyd Bay. And our inspirations are robbed from numerous kind of great buildings of the past and sort of existing buildings in the locality. Here we've got bits of Corbusier's Ronchamp Chapel. We've got bits of we've got a kind of liners there, and we also look at the inspiration from the sort of spirit of the place. It's a rocky outcrop, and we've got sort of very angular kind of canopy which kind of looks across to the kind of the sea and the Atlantic in the distance. And you can see again kind of references to the kind of liner and the architecture of the kind of seascape and a little bit of the 30s. But closer to home and very opposite here, history is another inspiration. And this is St Andrew's Hall, our unfortunately unbuilt project for the kind of concert hall for St Andrew's Hall, rebuilding the tower which fell down in the 18th century, but a new kind of ear to the plain. And again, kind of here we have references along the River Wensum to warehouses, to kind of the grain silos and the kind of architecture of warehouses for a scheme for Broadband housing, which is about to go into planning to Norwich City Council. But crucially, the important thing for us is kind of the way people experience they're kind of safe in their houses, but also relate to people on the street and these in-between spaces where you can meet and converse with people on your own territory. And this is a sort of architect sort of section through the site, just showing how it all works. And it's even more important, or equally important, in houses. This is a house, again, where all bits of the house come together. There's the steps up to the guest rooms here, there's the living room there, down into the playroom there, this is the kitchen, up into the dining room there. So they're all the spaces come together as a whole. And this is crucially important for a kind of social, the way people sort of live. And architecture is experienced in lots and different ways. This is at speed, 40 miles an hour along the in Chelmsford of the Salvation Army. You don't want to see, the building has to be quite simple, an image which can be glanced and taken in very, very, very quickly. And this building, this tower, changes colour as you move past, and also throws these extraordinary kind of coloured shafts of light across the road. And it's really important, this kind of this different speeds that you take in and understand architecture. Because round the corner, you have a billboard for the same building, which is then inscribed with kind of a bit like Victor Hugo said that architecture, the Gothic cathedrals, should be like kind of the encyclopedias of the world. And this has kind of inscriptions from the New Testament, from the Salvation Army, which they chose. And people have been seen to take brass rubbings of this. But it's about taking in things slowly. But back to that notion of the house or the building being something which you take in quickly and understand quickly, and then then as you walk around it, it looks slightly different, and you start getting a different idea of what it is. This is based on a beach hut, but also kind of obviously an ideal sort of image of the house. But as you move around, it cuts into the house. You start seeing the innards of the house. You cut back into the kind of, that wood is kind of almost kind of cutting into the house, where there's the courtyard where people are kind of enjoying their kind of Sunday lunch or whatever it is, have views, and it's a much more kind of domestic feel. making the most of buildings and existing buildings is something that we really, really kind of think is important. And here's a barn in Essex. It was on Grand Designs quite recently, where we're using these as guest rooms, and it has this amazing roof, which I think barn conversions can be absolutely ghastly if you don't get it right. And we're always wanting to kind of ensure that the roofscape is kind of, is paramount. And this is louvered metal panels which lets light into the back of them. Also makes this fantastic pattern of kind of like a painting almost, but the light comes in at the top, so from the outside you actually don't know what's there, but then it floods this space with the light. And again, we've used these bits and pieces of kind of agricultural the silos, the concrete silos there, as sort of space dividers, which enclose bathrooms and do separate the bedrooms from the kind of main living space. But we've done this again, and we're exploring this in another project in just outside Norwich. We're actually encapsulating a whole 14th century barn within an agricultural shed and treating it almost as a sort of museum, sort of exhibit, because it's quite fragile, but yet we want it to be reused. Moving on to modern construction, these prefabrications always had a bad name. And this is a kind of prefabricated house in North Norfolk, which allowed us to do the most extraordinary kind of things, like this corner window, which is kind of looks over a bit of the River Wensum. There is clad in shingle tiles, and again prefabrication in the Salvation Army, using these huge, great planks of what's called cross-laminated timber, which allows you to do these amazing spans. This is transported in kind of big lorries from Austria and brought here and erected in 3 weeks. This building was erected, and then having fun with the environmental side, making kind of celebrating the fact that these are kind of ventilation towers, nice pink ventilation towers. This is actually in Haringey, which kind of which become markers for the people who are using this building. And finally, coming back home to Norwich, to the Open. This is the Open Youth venue, which was one of the main reasons we brought the office back to, well, not back, we brought the office to Norwich, having had it in London for 20 years of my career. And it was such a nice project to be working on as the first project here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Anthony?